Hello aspirants, welcome to Daily UPSC Current Affairs Revision Series by Insights IAS. In today's session, we'll cover Glaw Lake, the freedom fighter Utkalmani Pandit Gopabandhu Das, the MSME Development Amendment Bill 2026, the e-Pratyaropan digital platform, and the proposal for a UNESCO tag for Puri Rath Yatra. And in mapping, we'll explore the Republic of Naoero, formerly Nauru. So, without any further delay, let's get started. Let's begin with a genuinely proud moment for Arunachal Pradesh, Glaw Lake, also known as Glaw Lake. Here's the context. The Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change announced the designation of Glaw Lake in Arunachal Pradesh as India's 101st Ramsar site. Now, here's a genuinely important number worth holding on to right away. This landmark recognition marks Arunachal Pradesh's very first Ramsar site, and it raises India's national tally of internationally protected wetlands past the 100 mark. That's exactly the kind of milestone figure UPSC loves testing. So, what exactly is this lake? Glaw Lake is a high-altitude, pristine, natural freshwater lake located in the eastern Himalayas, spread across an estimated area of 8 square kilometers at an elevation of approximately 1,168 meters above sea level. It serves as a major source for the perennial Kamlang River. On its location, it lies in the Lohit district of Arunachal Pradesh, near the town of Wakro. It lies deep inside the Kamlang Tiger Reserve and Wildlife Sanctuary, bounded by the Lang River to the north and Namdapha National Park to the south. And here's a genuinely important cultural detail. It's surrounded by traditional territories inhabited by the Miju Mishmi, Digaro Mishmi, and Idu Mishmi tribal communities. Now, let's understand its origin. On its hydrological origin, the lake is fed by multiple perennial high-altitude mountain streams flowing down from the eastern Himalayan glaciated ridges. And on its geomorphological origin, it was formed through natural tectonic activity and land block warping, typical of the eastern Himalayan structural fold belt, creating a natural high-altitude depression that impounds alpine runoff. Now, coming to the key geological and ecological features of this lake. And this is genuinely rich, so let's slow down. It's a high-altitude freshwater basin covering an expanse of nearly 8 square kilometers with a circumference of 5 kilometers, acting as the primary headwater origin for the Kamlang River within the eastern Himalayan biodiversity hotspot. It has rich floral diversity too. The surrounding catchment supports a dense microclimate, hosting over 150 tree species, including holong, canarium, and rhododendron, and 49 recorded wild orchid species, a genuinely staggering diversity for one lake basin. Now, here's a genuinely rare ecological fact worth remembering firmly. This lake basin serves as critical habitat for 4 big cats. It's one of the rare Himalayan ecozones supporting all 4 major big cat species: the Bengal tiger, Indian leopard, clouded leopard, and snow leopard, all coexisting in one region. That's an extraordinarily rare combination anywhere in the world. It's also a primate and endemic wildlife refuge, providing a contiguous forest corridor for endangered primates like the hoolock gibbon, slow loris, and capped langur, alongside rare alpine mammals such as the Mishmi takin and red panda. So, to quickly recap for your exam, Glaw Lake in Arunachal Pradesh's Lohit district became India's 101st Ramsar site and the state's very first, sitting inside the Kamlang Tiger Reserve. Remember, it's a rare habitat hosting all 4 big cats: tiger, leopard, clouded leopard, and snow leopard. And it hosts over 150 tree species along with 49 wild orchid species. Now, let's move to a genuinely inspiring history topic, remembering the jewel of Odisha, Utkalmani Pandit Gopabandhu Das. Here's the context. The President of India unveiled the statue of this eminent freedom fighter, social reformer, and pioneer journalist at Lajpat Bhavan in New Delhi. So, who exactly was Gopabandhu Das? Living from 1877 to 1928, he was an iconic freedom fighter, social reformer, educationist, poet, and pioneering journalist from Odisha. He carried the title Utkalmani, meaning the jewel of Odisha, and he dedicated his life to national independence, linguistic consolidation of Odia-speaking regions, open-air education, and the selfless service of flood and famine victims. Now, let's understand his early days. He was born on the 9th of October 1877 in Suwando village near Puri, Odisha, to Swarnamai Devi and Daitari Das. And here's a genuinely tragic detail. He lost his mother while still an infant. On his student activism, while studying at Ravenshaw College in Cuttack, he established the Kartavya Bodhini Samiti to cultivate social service, duty, and nationalistic consciousness among students. On sacrificing law for service, he earned his BA, MA, and LLB degrees from Calcutta University. And although he began a legal career in Puri and Cuttack, he soon abandoned practice to devote his life entirely to social reform, education, and anti-colonial agitation, a genuinely selfless career pivot. Now, let's go through his contributions to India's freedom movement, and this is genuinely rich with achievements. As the first president of Utkal PCC, he was appointed as the founding president of the Utkal Pradesh Congress Committee in 1920, bringing Odisha into the mainstream of the national movement led by the Indian National Congress. He led the non-cooperation movement across Odisha, spearheading Mahatma Gandhi's movement, encouraging youth to leave British schools and courts, which resulted in his frequent arrests and imprisonment. He was deeply involved with the Servants of the People Society, aligning closely with Lala Lajpat Rai's vision of social work, joining the society, also called Lok Sevak Mandal, and rising to become its national vice president. And he played a pivotal role in linguistic unification and the Utkal Sammilani, advocating for the administrative unification of fragmented Odia-speaking regions. A movement that ultimately led to Odisha becoming India's first language-based province in 1936. Hold that fact firmly, it's genuinely testable. Now let's look at his key works and contributions. In 1909, he founded the Satyabadi Ban Vidyalay, an open-air residential school at Sakhigopal near Puri, based on the Gurukula model. And here's a genuinely progressive detail for that era. The school broke caste barriers by requiring students of all backgrounds to dine and study together while fostering patriotism and moral character. In 1919, he founded the Samaja, starting this historic Odia newspaper to inform rural populations, promote literacy, and highlight British exploitation. Written in simple, lucid Odia prose, it became a genuine voice for the marginalized. He was also an acclaimed poet and essayist, authoring inspiring nationalist literature during his incarceration, including Bandi Aur Atmakatha, Story of a Prisoner, Dharmpad, and Karakavita. Now, let's talk about his last days, because this story is genuinely moving. He showed total selflessness, consistently putting public service ahead of personal tragedy, famously continuing his relief work during a severe flood even while his eldest son lay on his deathbed. Weakened by relentless physical exertion during disaster relief and illness contracted during public service, he passed away on the 17th of June 1928 at the age of 50. And before his death, he willed the Samaja newspaper and his properties to the Servants of the People Society, leaving behind a genuine legacy of public service and national commitment. So, to quickly recap for your exam, Gopabandhu Das, the jewel of Odisha, founded the Satyabadi Ban Vidyalay in 1909 and the Samaja newspaper in 1919. Remember his role as the first president of Utkal PCC in 1920, his advocacy through Utkal Sammilani leading to Odisha becoming India's first language-based province in 1936, and his death on the 17th of June 1928 while serving flood victims. Now, let's move to a genuinely important economic reform, the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Amendment Bill 2026. Here's the context. Parliament passed this bill after its approval by the Rajya Sabha. So, what exactly does this bill do? It amends the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Act 2006 to improve the business environment for MSMEs through faster payments, streamlined dispute resolution, flexible classification, and decriminalized compliance. Its aim is genuinely practical to ensure timely payments to MSMEs, simplify business regulations, strengthen access to finance, and promote ease of doing business through digital and legal reforms. Now let's go through the key features of this bill and this is genuinely dense. So let's take it feature by feature. There's flexible classification of MSMEs, removing fixed statutory investment thresholds and instead empowering the central government to classify MSMEs based on investment in plant and machinery or equipment. And turnover through notifications that's genuinely more adaptable than fixed numbers written into law. There's voluntary digital registration too, making MSME registration voluntary for all enterprises and enabling registration through a central government digital platform, with states also permitted to establish their own digital registration portals. Now pause here because this next feature is genuinely important for improving cash flow to small businesses. There's mandatory TReDS for CPSEs, making it mandatory for central public sector enterprises to settle all MSME procurement invoices through the Trade Receivables Discounting System, TReDS, and this requirement can also be extended by central and state governments to other public entities. Now, let's understand the dispute resolution timeline because this is genuinely dense and worth holding on to carefully. There's time-bound mediation, mandating that payment-related mediation before MSME facilitation councils or mediation providers must be completed within 90 days from the first hearing. There's time-bound arbitration too, requiring arbitration to commence within 30 days if mediation fails, and arbitration awards must be delivered within 90 days after completion of pleadings. There's also relief during award disputes, allowing challenges against both arbitration awards and mediated settlement agreements. And here's a genuinely important protective clause. If court proceedings exceed 6 months, at least 50% of the awarded amount must be paid to the MSME supplier, ensuring small businesses aren't left waiting indefinitely for their money while a case drags on. Now, let's understand the decriminalization of compliance, a genuinely significant shift in approach. This bill replaces criminal penalties with a graded system of warnings and monetary penalties for offenses like furnishing false registration information, failure to provide information required by authorities, and non-reporting of MSME dues in annual accounts. There's also a progressive penalty structure, introducing higher penalties for repeated violations, and here's a specific detail worth remembering. Minimum penalty amounts will automatically increase by 10% every 3 years. And on adjudication and appeals, the Development Commissioner, MSME, is appointed as the adjudicating authority, while appeals against adjudication orders will lie before the MSME Secretary. So, to quickly recap for your exam, the MSME Development Amendment Bill 2026 amends the 2006 Act, introducing flexible classification, voluntary registration, and mandatory TReDS settlement for CPSEs. Remember the dispute resolution timeline: 90 days for mediation, 30 days to begin arbitration, and 90 days for arbitration awards, and that minimum penalties for violations rise by 10% every 3 years. Now, let's move to a genuinely life-saving digital initiative, the e-Pratyaropan digital platform. The context is that during the 16th Indian Organ Donation Day event in New Delhi, Union Minister of State for Health Anupriya Patel unveiled this platform. So, what exactly is e-Pratyaropan? It's an integrated, national-level, unified digital platform designed to digitize and streamline India's organ donation and transplantation ecosystem. It serves as a central interface, connecting hospitals, transplant surgeons, organ donors, waiting list recipients, and administrative regulatory bodies into a single, technology-enabled framework. It's led by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and its apex implementing agency is the National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization. Its aim is genuinely urgent: to establish a transparent, fair, and efficient organ donation framework that eliminates manual delays, prevents malpractices, maintains real-time organ registries, and speeds up organ matching and allocation to save lives. And in organ transplantation, timing genuinely determines whether someone lives or dies. Now let's go through the key features of this platform. There's a unified national registry and waitlist management system, maintaining real-time digital databases for organ transplant waiting lists, deceased and living donors, tissue banks, and organ donation pledges. There's automated and transparent organ allocation using protocol-based algorithms aligned with the Transplantation of Human Organs and Tissues Act guidelines to allocate retrieved organs strictly on medical priority, geography, and urgency, essentially eliminating discretionary biases that could otherwise creep into such a sensitive process. There's hospital and stakeholder integration too, enabling registered hospitals, ROTTOs, and SOTTOs to log transplant procedures, organ retrieval alerts, and recipient updates within mandatory timeframes, for example, within 48 hours post-procedure. There's digital identity verification, integrating mobile and digital ID platforms to facilitate organ donation pledges and issue authentic digital pledge certificates. And there's real-time organ tracking capability, interoperable with the National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization mobile app to monitor the movement of retrieved organs along green corridors and transport routes. That's exactly how hospitals coordinate those dramatic, high-speed organ transport journeys you sometimes hear about in the news. On significance, this centralized encrypted allocation platform curbs illegal organ trade and ensures transparent, fair organ allocation. And it automates donor-recipient matching, reducing delays and improving timely transplantation, especially for time-sensitive organs like the heart. So, to quickly recap for your exam, e-Pratyaropan, led by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and implemented by National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization, digitizes India's organ donation ecosystem, following THOTA guidelines for allocation. Remember, its 48-hour mandatory reporting window for hospitals, its integration with the National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization mobile app for tracking organs along green corridors, and its role in curbing illegal organ trade through encrypted, protocol-based allocation. Now, let's move to a genuinely beautiful cultural topic, the proposal for a UNESCO tag for Puri Rath Yatra. The context is that the Odisha Chief Minister urged the centre to nominate Puri's Sri Jagannath Rath Yatra for inclusion in UNESCO's representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. So, what exactly is this proposal? It was prepared by the Sri Jagannath Temple Administration and it seeks formal recognition from UNESCO for the annual Rath Yatra or Chariot Festival held at Puri, Odisha. And here's the genuinely important framing behind this proposal. It presents the festival not merely as a religious gathering, but as a living civilizational tradition, showcasing India's cultural diversity, spirituality, traditional craftsmanship, music, dance, and social inclusivity. Now, let's understand its origin and antiquity. On its Puranic and historical roots, textual descriptions of the Rath Yatra appear in ancient Hindu scriptures such as the Brahma Purana, Padma Purana, Skanda Purana, and Kapila Sanghita. On European accounts, it was documented by European travelers since the 13th century, with detailed accounts recorded from the 17th century onward, genuinely long-standing external documentation of this tradition. And on its annual occurrence, it's celebrated annually during the bright fortnight Shukla Paksha of the Hindu lunar month of Ashada, which falls between June and July. Now, let's go through the key features of the Puri Rath Yatra, and this is genuinely rich, so let's slow down. There's an annual reconstruction of chariots, 3 massive distinct wooden chariots, Nandighosh for Lord Jagannath, Taldhwaj for Lord Balbhadra, and Darpadalan for Goddess Subhadra. And these chariots are newly constructed every single year using specific timber types, Fassi and Dhausa, brought traditionally from the ex-princely state of Dasapalla along the Mahanadi river. Genuinely fascinating that these chariots aren't reused, but rebuilt fresh annually. There are hereditary artisan guilds too. The construction follows ancient architectural canons, Shilpa Shastras, executed by hereditary teams of carpenters, called Maharanas, along with blacksmiths, painters, and tailors. A genuinely unbroken chain of traditional craftsmanship passed down through generations. There's the divine procession along Bada Danda. The 3 deities are brought out of the 12th century Jagannath temple in a grand procession called Pahandi Bijay and placed on their chariots, aligned on the Bada Danda, the grand avenue, where millions of devotees pull them to the Gundicha temple. And there's the ritual journey and Bahuda Yatra. After a 7-day stay at the Gundicha temple, regarded as the deity's birthplace or aunt's home, the deities embark on their return journey, the Bahuda Yatra, during which they stop near the Mosima temple to receive an offering of Podo Pitha, a lovely specific ritual detail worth remembering. On significance, UNESCO inscription would strengthen global recognition, cultural diplomacy, and heritage conservation of the Rath Yatra. And it would safeguard traditional crafts, temple carpentry, textiles, Odissi Kirtan, and community-led heritage practices for future generations. So, to quickly recap for your exam, the Puri Rath Yatra proposal, prepared by the Sri Jagannath Temple Administration, seeks UNESCO's intangible cultural heritage tag, celebrated annually during Ashadha between June and July. Remember, its 3 chariots, Nandighosha, Taladhwaja, and Darpadalna, are rebuilt every year by hereditary Maharana artisans, and the festival includes the Bahuda Yatra return journey with the Podo Pitha offering at Mosima temple. Finally, let's turn to today's mapping topic. And this one's a genuinely unique naming story from the Pacific, the Republic of Naoero, formerly known as Nauru. The context is that the Pacific island nation of Nauru officially changed its name to the Republic of Naoero, pronounced Naoero. So, what exactly is this nation? The Republic of Naoero is an independent island nation, and here's a genuinely striking superlative. It's the world's 3rd smallest sovereign republic by land area, after Vatican City and Monaco. With a total population of around 12,000 residents, an extraordinarily small nation by any measure. On its capital, here's a genuinely unusual detail. It has no designated official capital city. Government offices and administrative headquarters are simply located in the Yaran district. On its location, it's situated in the southwestern Pacific Ocean in southeastern Micronesia, approximately 40 kilometers or 25 miles south of the equator and roughly 1,300 kilometers or 800 miles northeast of the Solomon Islands. Now, let's go through its key geological features, because this is genuinely dense and quite unique geologically. So let's slow down. It has a raised coral atoll structure consisting of a single oval-shaped raised coral limestone island rising steeply from the Pacific Ocean floor and featuring no natural harbors or sheltered bays at all. It has a central phosphate plateau. The interior plateau, elevated 30 to 65 meters above sea level, is largely composed of rich rock phosphate deposits formed over centuries from accumulated guano, bird droppings. A genuinely fascinating natural resource origin story. Now, here's a genuinely striking environmental detail worth remembering. It has a jagged limestone pinnacle landscape, extensive open-cast phosphate mining throughout the 20th century, stripped topsoil across 4/5 of the island, leaving behind a barren, otherworldly terrain of tall limestone spires, genuinely one of the most dramatic examples of resource extraction reshaping an entire island's landscape. There's also a coastal belt and Buada Lagoon. A narrow, fertile coastal strip rings the island and surrounds Buada Lagoon, a shallow inland brackish body of water where subsistence agriculture, coconut, banana, and pandanus takes place. And there's genuine hydrological vulnerability. The island has no natural rivers or surface streams at all, and highly porous soils force reliance on harvested rainwater catchment systems and imported freshwater. A genuinely precarious water security situation. On significance, renaming to Naoero and using the term De Naoero preserves the endangered indigenous language and reinforces national identity. And Naoero highlights the combined impacts of phosphate mining, sea level rise, and ocean warming on small island nations, a genuinely important case study in the vulnerabilities facing tiny Pacific nations today. So, to quickly recap for your exam, Nauru officially renamed itself the Republic of Naoero, the world's 3rd smallest sovereign republic with no official capital, government functions based in Yaran district. Remember, its raised coral atoll structure, its phosphate plateau formed from centuries of accumulated guano, and how 20th century phosphate mining stripped topsoil across 4/5 of the island, leaving behind a barren limestone pinnacle landscape. And that brings us to the end of today's session. We covered Glaw Lake from GS Paper 1 Geography and Environment, Utkalmani Pandit Gopabandhu Das from GS Paper 1 History, the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Amendment Bill 2026, from GS Paper 3 Economy, the e-Pratyaropan digital platform from GS Paper 2 Governance and Health, the proposal for a UNESCO tag for Puri Rath Yatra from GS Paper 1 Art and Culture, and the Republic of Naoero under Mapping. For the complete current affairs article and today's practice MCQs, visit insightsonindia.com using the link given in the description. Also, subscribe to the Insights IAS YouTube channel and join our official Telegram group for regular UPSC related updates and learning resources. Thank you for joining us today, and we will see you again in the next session.